guys, and welcome to Crazy Burger. So in this second sort of video, I'm going to be looking at the C64 Collection 2. Now it has 14 games, and it's obviously a continuation of the first cart that we got at the end of last year. I didn't actually expect a cart as soon. I thought we'd have maybe got it a few months down the line. So it's a little bit of a surprise that we got it so quickly. I'm not really sure if it's a better cart or not, I guess. Some of the games I've played, some I've not. It definitely seems to me that a lot of these games are obviously licensed by Epix and Hewson. And we're still missing a lot of those classics for me. And I honestly doubt at this point that we will ever see some of those games that we have grown to love over the years, like Creatures, for example, and Turricane, and IK Plus, all that kind of thing. Maybe we'll see it, maybe we'll not. But looking at these games that have been included, it definitely says to me that their license to the games that they can play are probably really limited to what Epix have got and what they've got on Retro Games that does the C64 Mini, because quite a lot of these games are on the C64 Mini, like World Games, California Games. I just don't think we need another California Games, but some people might like that. We've got Impossible Mission 2. Interestingly, I've never actually played Impossible Mission 2. We've got Pitstop II, which is on the C64 Mini as well. We've got Sword of Fargoal. Never heard of it, so it kind of looks similar to the Apshai game that's on the first cart. We've got Street Sports Basketball, which is kind of similar to the baseball game from the first cart. We've got the legendary shoot 'em up Uridium, which a lot of people have probably heard of. We've got Cybernoid, which is some kind of a platformer shoot 'em up thing, which I've definitely played over the years. Nebulus, I definitely played this one. This is a kind of a sort of frog, you sort of bounce and try to make your way along the sort of tower as it scrolls around. It's really weird, but it seems to work. Firelord, I've definitely played that. That was on the C64 Mini as well. It's kind of interesting. Slayer, it's a shoot 'em up. I've played that at some points. Zamzara, never heard of this one. Absolutely new to me. Not heard of it. We'll have a look at it though. Insects in Space, which is a kind of a interesting Defender clone, which I might have played and I might not have. I can't actually remember. And it's interestingly from Sensible Software, who do the Sensible Soccer games. And the last game, Mission Impossibubble, which is a kind of a curious, it looks like an isometric style game, which I've definitely played. This game was a free game on one of the tapes back in the day on one of the SAP 64 magazines, or Commodore 64, I can't remember, Commodore 4 magazine, but I definitely played this one. Anyway guys, enough of me talking a lot of rubbish. Let's get playing these games, and I'll give you my thoughts as we go, and if these games are any good, and if this cart will be worth picking up. Let's get into the games. Okay, first game on the collection I'm looking at is California Games. Now, first thing you have to say is the obvious. Why do we need another version of California Games, since we've already got California Games on the Atari Lynx Collection 2? But this version does have more events. But is it everyone's favourite type of game? I don't know. It's not really my favourite game. The games are quite tricky, and you'll definitely need to resort to looking at the manual to figure out what the moves are and how you actually perform some of the events, because sometimes it's not totally clear and you'll just keep messing them up time and time again. There's a few different events here. Obviously we've got footbags on the Atari Lynx version as well. It's probably the easiest one to get started with. You really just try to keep the sort of footbag up into the air and continuously going to get the big points. Again, not my favourite game. This version's actually okay, it's not bad. You just need to utilise the manual and understand the different events. I'm absolutely terrible at the surfing, and yeah, I just don't put myself over in glory in this game at all, but I'm sure some people will really enjoy it nonetheless. Okay, next up we have Cybernoid, which is a kind of a platforming shoot 'em up style of game. Again, you need to access the on-screen keyboard to sort of start the game, as you can see on the screen. I guess that's something Blaze are just going to have to get round. But yeah, this isn't my favourite type of game. It's actually really tough. You've got sort of, you see at the top there, you've got 20 bombs. You can also hold down the fire button, and I think it unleashes some kind of grenade type weapon that destroys some of the sort of bigger enemies there. But this one is unbelievably difficult to make any sort of progress on. And through the sort of video here, I really don't make much progress at all in the level, and I'm pretty sure most people will be exactly the same. It is really frustrating, really difficult. Yeah, as I said, you have to like hold down the fire button to try and destroy some of these bigger enemies. But sometimes I just find it extremely difficult to make any sort of progress. So, not entirely sure why you would include this. I mean, maybe it's just me. I'm pretty sure there are people out there are a lot better at this game than me. I'm just really struggling. Obviously, I need to maybe read the manual a little bit more to understand what I need to do and how to actually utilise it. But it's a tough one. It really is a tough game to get the grips of at all. So yeah, apologies about that. That was short and sweet. Okay, this is Firelord, which is a kind of a action-adventure style game. I actually quite like this one. I'm not entirely sure what you're supposed to do. I know you go through the levels and collect different sort of items and artifacts. And there's some kind of special power there. I've just picked it up. You can actually shoot some kind of lightning fire power at the enemies going around there. But it's your job to recover the Firestone from the evil queen. And there's 4 charms of eternal youth to track down first. Whatever the heck that means. So basically there's a lot of sprawling sort of exploring to be doing through the sort of stages here. And try and pick up the artifacts and make your set progress through the game. I actually quite enjoy it. I know I'm not really entirely sure what I'm supposed to be doing, but it's a nice looking game for a Commodore 64. It plays really well. It's quite quick. Yeah, I quite like it. I really don't have anything bad to say about this one at all. It definitely intrigues me, and I'll be looking forward to playing it a little bit more. This one was on the C64 Mini as well, and I played it a little bit then, and I'll be looking forward to playing it a little bit more on the Evercade handheld when it comes out in April. Okay, leading on to Impossible Mission 2. Now, I have to be honest, I never actually played this game at all, ever. I've obviously played the original game, quite liked it. It is quite a tough game right enough, and it's difficult to know exactly how to actually make progress through the game. You obviously need to search all the furniture and goods, and you need to find the puzzle pieces to try and make your progress through the game and escape where you're being held captive. But yeah, it's pretty much a very similar game. It seems a lot harder to me than the first game. There seems to be a lot more going on. There's less speech samples as well. Apparently the makers of the game had a fallout with the company that made the speech samples for the original game, so they're not included in here. But yeah, it's alright. I think they've obviously tried. They've changed the graphics slightly, added a little bit more detail here and there.
but is it a better game? I'm not really sure. I think it's still pretty difficult, pretty frustrating, and I didn't really enjoy it as much, which is kind of a shame. I'm sure some people might get more out of it than me, but I found it really tough and frustrating. I know you need to sort of collect, I think it's number pieces to try and solve some sort of puzzle. There's a lot going on, but yeah, it's frustrating. The robots just kill you constantly. You will replay stages over and over again. I guess with the save states on the Evercade it'll probably help a little bit, but yeah, I didn't really enjoy this one as much. I'm sure there'll be people out there that still like this game and enjoy it, but as it is as much a classic as the original game, I'm not so sure. Anyway, here it is. It's a pretty well known C64 game, so it's very welcome to be included on the collection nonetheless. Guys, a quick warning here, the next game includes a lot of flashing imaging, so if this affects you, you might want to skip this chapter. Okay, this is Insects in Space, and it's got really annoying sounds, obviously with the bees buzzing trying to steal your babies here. And it's got really annoying flashing images, which is a bit of a pain. The graphics are terrible. I mean, what's not to love here? So yeah, you see there's a lot not right about this game, but at the end of the day, it's quite fun to play. I just wish the graphics were a little bit larger. Sometimes it's quite difficult to actually see what's going on, and you can like die without really realising what actually happened. So it's pretty much a Defender clone. The insects will try to steal your babies and take them up to wherever they're going to take them, and you really just have to stop them and keep as many of the sort of babies on the surface as you possibly can. That's pretty much what it's like. It's basically a Defender clone. It's alright, it's kind of good fun to play. It's just not the best looking game or sounding game, but it's fun enough to play. Okay, next up is Impossibubble, which I definitely played many years ago. I'm pretty sure it came on a magazine, Commodore format or SAP64 is on one of the tapes as a free game. And I quite enjoyed it at the time. I remember playing through it. It is quite frustrating because the enemies do randomly appear at any given moment, probably right in front of your path, and you will die instantly. So the point is you're sort of scrolling through this isometric sort of style level, and you're collecting scroll pieces to try and rescue your friends, so to speak. It is fun. I really quite enjoyed playing this. It's not amazing, but I still enjoyed the exploration of it and trying to make some sort of progress. And I quite like it. I'm glad they sort of included that. This one certainly brings back a little bit of memories for me, and I love that sort of portal effect. It's really quite cool. Okay, so this one is definitely a well-known game, Nebulus, and I've played this many times over the years, and this is quite unique. I mean, I don't remember many games in this kind of style where you're trying to make to the top of the tower and it's scrolling all the way around as you're sort of progressing up. Don't get me wrong, this is a very difficult game. So the enemies could basically hit you, touch you, and you will hit you all the way back down again. And it does get frustrating. You can see here you've got a time limit to actually make it to the top of the tower. And it's really quite difficult. It's good fun, it's very unique, very different. It's certainly one of those games you could say is a classic C64 game, and it is really quite cool. It's not amazing, it can be a little bit frustrating, but it's nice to be included here. I would probably regard this as certainly a classic from back in the day. A really decent game. Hopefully with save states, I guess we'll try and make a little bit more progress on the Evercade, which I'm really enjoying. I think that's one thing that's good about the Evercade, is making some progress in these games that you couldn't possibly have done before. Okay, so this is Pitstop II, and this kind of reminds me a lot like pole position on Atari 2600. And you can see uniquely here, you're obviously facing against the computer, top and bottom. I think I'm the top car here. You can also play this two-player against a friend, which is kind of probably quite unique for back in the day. I don't really remember too many games that you could actually do this with in driving games. So this is, I don't know if this was a first or what, but probably not. But it's still quite unique for back in the day. Pretty cool. And this is actually quite good fun. It's quite basic. It's quite an early sort of C64 game back in 1984. And so graphically it's not the most amazing, but it still plays quite well. And I quite enjoyed actually playing it. I guess you don't actually have any spectacular crashes or anything through the game. But yeah, I think you actually have to control the pit crew as well while you're making sort of pit stops. So again, you can see here you've got your fuel gauge that will probably go down as you go. I've not played this game an awful lot over the years. It's not one that grabbed me, but it's alright. It's very playable and it's quite good fun. And I guess if you've got a friend there and you've got a VS, you could probably have a lot of fun playing against another player in the two-player mode. I think that'd be quite cool. Okay, next up it's Slayer, which is a side-scrolling shoot 'em up, and I absolutely can't stand this game. It really is solid, really tough. It looks nice enough, the graphics are okay, but I make so little progress. I just find it really, really difficult. I think the levels are far too compact, and it really feels like I'm just a sitting duck. I'm going to get hit and die at every given moment, and that's just me. I'm really not good at these type of games, but let me know, guys, have you played this game? What do you think? I just don't think it's that great. It reminds me very much of the other game on this cart, Cybernoid. Like, trying to make progress is just unbelievably hard, and there's another game further on the video that's a little bit similar but slightly more enjoyable to play. But yeah, I don't like this game. It's not one I'm ever really going to come back to, and I could happily see this be removed from the cart and I wouldn't care less. But it might be someone's favourite game out there. Let me know if it's yours, and maybe what am I doing wrong here? What do I need to do? Obviously need to practice upon practice and memorise what's going on, but these games just frustrate the heck out of me. I really don't enjoy them at all. Okay, Street Sports Basketball. Now, you probably remember Street Sports Baseball from the first collection, and it's pretty similar style game. It's the same way of getting started. You have to choose your sort of where you're coming from, your sort of clan, so to speak, and then choose your team, choose your teammates, give yourself a name. Oh, it's just painful to actually get started. It takes about half an hour to even get somewhere. Which is just utter nonsense, you know, just get started, it's just silly. But one good thing about this is the actual game, I think, is better than the baseball game. The actual basketball element it's alright. It was pretty basic. It's not NBA Jam by any stretch of the imagination, but it's still quite good fun. And I like the fact you can change the setting here as if you're playing on the street. Obviously it's 3-on-3. But yeah, I quite enjoyed it. There's nothing really wrong with it. It's not brilliant, but it was actually good fun to play, and I think you'll probably will get some kind of enjoyment of it. It's not super quick, but you can see it's got all the elements that you would probably want from a basketball game. And is it the best basketball game that we'll have on Evercade? I don't know. That's probably an argument for another day, I guess. But it's playable and it's kind of fun. Okay, this is the Sword of Fargoal. I think that's how you pronounce it, and it obviously looks very much similar to the tower or the Temple of Apshai that's on the first collection, and it does look terrible. There's no doubt about it, but it's kind of a fun. You have absolutely no control over your sword or the battle sequence here. They basically just happen. The computer basically takes control over the battles here, and you're making your way through the levels. There are stairs that you can obviously activate, and you can go up or down to another sort of stage, and then make progress. And you're trying to find this legendary sword of Fargoal and finish the game. Now, this isn't bad. It's not bad. It's obviously very, very basic. It looks terrible. It's probably one of the older sort of Commodore 64 games. I've never heard of it. This is a totally new one on me. It is pretty sluggish, and the movement of the character is pretty painful at times. But I still found myself quite enjoying it and trying to make progress and through the levels, sort of picking up the treasure and all sorts of things. It's not too bad, to be honest, but it is pretty sluggish, gets a bit frustrating, a bit annoying to play. But you know, it's alright, it's playable, I'm sure some people will love it. Okay, so this is Uridium, which many regard as a C64 classic. I'm not a massive fan of this game, but I can definitely see there's a lot of elements that are quite impressive for a C64, having the side-scrolling, it's shoot 'em up. It is quite fast as well. It's obviously quite tempting to go really quickly through the levels, but as you can see, if you do so, you're most likely going to hit the objects that you can't actually see till it's too late. So ideally, you want to actually go a lot slower through the levels by pulling back on the sort of D-pad. Well, it should be joystick, but you know, obviously you want to try and slow down and make your progress by killing all the enemies on the level and other sort of objects that are on the ground there or on the sort of surface. I quite enjoy it. It's not my favourite type of genre, obviously, but it is a decent game. I'm not really sure everyone will love this. It is regarded as C64 classic, right enough, so it is quite good that we've got one of these on this collection. It reminds me a little bit like EliteColeyBoy. If you sort of played and enjoyed EliteColeyBoy, it's a little bit like that. Obviously it's made by the same person, so you will see the similarities in the game. Oh, here we go, another World Games. Do we need another one of these games collections on Evercade? I don't think we do, but here it is. We've got World Games, which is going to be on Collection 2, and it's exactly the same idea as the other Winter Games and Summer Games. You need to enter your name, and if you're playing by yourself, press return when it asks you to enter player 2. Yeah, it's pretty much similar. Obviously, the events are different, and I guess that's why they've included it. But it is quite painful to play through sometimes because it's slow, it's sluggish. But the actual events are alright. You really have to refer to the manual when you're playing these. So hopefully when this gets released on Evercade, they'll do a good job in the manual, include all the instructions to be able to play these games properly, because you can't really just jump into these games and try and play them without even reading a manual. It's impossible. For example, the weightlifting, you're supposed to press down to lift it up, then press up, and then at a certain height when you've got it, I think in the middle of your body, you're supposed to press down again to try and make a sort of a straight lift. But yeah, next one is barrel jumping. And the idea is you need to press left and right to gain some speed with your skater. It's kind of awkward doing that on a D-pad. Obviously I failed the first time there, but that sort of style is more for sort of waggling a joystick. I mean, if you played any of these games back in the day, it was all about waggling the joystick to try and make some speed with your runner or your skater, whatever it was. Try to do this with a D-pad. It just doesn't feel right for some reason. But obviously eventually you get the gist of it and you can jump, and yeah, there's something you have to do at the end of the jump as well. Darn. I have to say there's actually some really enjoyable events in this. This one is cliff diving, and the idea is to try and jump off the cliff, not hit the sides, try and make a nice clean sort of entrance into the pool at the right time, then press right to come out the water without hitting the bottom. Kind of daft, kind of fun, but the big problem I have with these games is ideally you want to be playing this against other players, not yourself, because it's kind of a boring playing yourself and you're really just trying to enjoy the events. It's better if you have 2 players, 3 players, maybe even more than that to enjoy it. And yeah, I suppose being Scottish, I really had to include the caber tossing and yeah, making a total mess of it. But it is quite fun. I mean, there's some nice events in here. I'm just not sure we really needed another one of these sort of world games. And I know there's not a lot of people who are going to love this game. I think this will be one for maybe doing sort of high score chasing, maybe playing on your friends on the VS. But overall, I think I could have probably done without it. Okay, here we have Zamzara, and I have to be honest, I've never heard of this game. I don't really remember playing this back in the day. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't, but it didn't obviously leave a lasting impression with me. And one of the things that's happening in this game, you have to utilise some of the different weapons to destroy some of these bosses here, which is by pressing the function buttons on the keyboard. Now, hopefully, when this does get released, Blades will obviously remap these buttons to something else, like a shoulder button or something. Because otherwise you're no way you want to be playing this by holding down and accessing the virtual keyboard to access the sort of stronger firepower to destroy these enemies. I'm not a big fan of this game. It was slightly better than the other 2 similar games like Cybernoid. Yeah, it's probably more enjoyable, but still quite difficult. You need to make progress with the game because there's some kind of bomb about to explode. You're got on a time limit to sort of make progress here. There's a 15-minute time limit, so yeah, it's alright, it's okay, I guess. Once you get used to it, I think if these buttons do get remapped, it'll make a big difference, but not amazing, it's okay. Okay guys, so let's summarise my overall thoughts on this cart. So World Games is alright. I don't really feel we need another sort of World Games. California Games, it's got more events than the Lynx version, but do we really need it? I don't know. Impossible Mission 2 is arguably not even as good as the first game. Pitstop 2 is alright, I mean it's okay. Sword of Fargoal looks kind of terrible, but plays alright, but it gets a little bit sluggish. I'm sure some people enjoy that sort of dungeon exploration style. Basketball was kind of fun. Uridium's probably a classic C64 game, so that's good that that's included. Cybernoid, I just thought was awful. yeah, so it's kind of a frustrating to try and summarise this card. If you hated the first collection, you're not going to like this one any better at all. So we have Nebulus as well, which is pretty good fun. Firelord, I actually quite enjoyed that one. Slayer, no, just terrible. Zamzara was alright, I guess. It was okay. But yeah, this one's really frustrating me. I don't think it's an amazing cart at all. It's just very substandard. Some people might even class this cart as being pretty poor. If you're a C64 fan, you'll probably get more out of this collection than those that are not. Like Insects in Space was alright, and Impossibubble was okay as well. But yeah, this one's going to be interesting to see everyone else's thoughts on this. For me, it's kind of okay. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one.